Hold on tight. It's time again for the ride of your life at Capital Ford. And the ride of your life begins now with employee pricing for everyone on new Fords. You pay what Ford employees pay. Employee pricing means buy a new 2025 Ford F-150 for just $599 a month. Or buy a new 2025 Ford Escape plug-in hybrid, only $499 a month during our Ride of Your Life event at Capital Ford in Santa Fe.
All right, welcome back to the Pit Press Live. We're live here at Circa. Happily joined by the head coach of the UNM Lobo Football team, Mr. Jason Eck. Coach, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing wonderful. Good to see some familiar faces and be with our local guys here.
How are you taking in Circa? And I mean, you kind of just let us know now, but just the atmosphere, the media attention, how's it been so far?
What an incredible event. We're very well organized and so thankful for our leadership in our conference, what Gloria has done and then what Sullivan has done. Great New Mexico alum there in the office. Just a first-class event, and been fun to see guys like you who I've talked to in the past, but also meet some of the media from the other teams in the league.
I'll get right into it. We had a chance to talk with Gabriel Lopez and Richard Pierce yesterday. Two really outstanding men, two guys that represent the program and the University of New Mexico really well. Some very outspoken guys. They're active in the community, but I think they're both really hopeful to have a stellar season. I think with Gabriel Lopez, he made a comment to us yesterday he's kind of changed up his rushing attack a little bit, right? Turning more into a speed rusher. I think a lot of that has to do with Coach Nowinski's approach to things. But what can you say about those two guys that were here yesterday?
Well, just such great young men, and I'd say those guys are part of my motivation. Those are guys who've been part of two different colleges in their time, and a lot of different head coaches, and that's really my goal as a head coach, is you want to make sure guys like that can really finish their career on a good note, and hopefully they can look back at their college career and say, hey, that 2025 season was my favorite season. That was really a great year to play college football and be a part of it. And I knew those guys would be great representatives. I know Gabe was here last year, representing the 24 team, and expected those guys to do a great job representing us. So no surprise to hear they did a great job.
Coach, I want to expand upon that a little bit. Gabe Lopez said the defensive line probably has a little bit more depth than they did last year. UNM struggled to sack the quarterback, 15 sacks last year. What's your assessment of the defensive line this season?
Yeah, I really believe in trying to play a lot of defensive linemen. I think that's a position where you need guys to play with just tremendous effort and run all over the field. And to do that, you got to play a lot of guys. You can't just rest on your four starters and have them play a majority of the snaps. So you'll see a lot of defensive linemen, shuffling in and shuffling out of the game, and that hopefully they're continuing just to play with great effort, so you can get some of those effort sacks where you're chasing guys down. But putting more pressure on the quarterback, I think, is definitely a priority for us this year.
You think you might be able to do that without the blitzing then?
That's our hope. If you can get pressure with four, I mean, that certainly makes a difference. I mean, you look at the Super Bowl,
right,
last year when the Eagles could not handle the Chiefs could not handle the Eagles pass rush, and they were able to get home with four and play a lot of coverage. That certainly adds things. But there'll be times when we do blitz and add guys into the rush. You got to keep people off balance as well.
Coach, one of the things, flipping to the offensive side, running back room seems very strong. I think we talked about this yesterday. Scotty Humphrey, I think is underlooked. And when I read that in the paper that he transferred here, I think I had to look at it like, oh my goodness. So I think the running back room with Humphrey, Damon Bankston, and you have another runner too. I think the running back room seems really well, seems good. The offensive line seems to be a strength. You've got some receivers. I've got to ask you about the quarterback now. Jack Lane didn't throw during the spring because of an elbow injury. You trust him though. He came with you from Idaho State. Will he be your starter if he's healthy?
We're gonna have a competition. I think maybe a blessing in disguise we had, Ed, was with Jack only getting to practice once during the spring ball. James Lobstein, really took advantage of all those reps he got, and I saw a lot of growth in James. And James Was Dampier's backup last year, but didn't get to play
Mhm.
hardly
Right,
at
yeah.
all with how much they kept the ball in Dampier's hands. So I think James has really improved, and I think it'll be a good competition. But Jack is fully healthy now and throwing fully, so I'm just happy the room's back to full health, and we'll have a great competition in fall camp to narrow that down.
Got one more question. I'll turn it back to Eric. It's a tough schedule, Coach. I don't think there's any question about it. UCLA, Michigan, San Jose State, UNLV. Of course, the state rivalry game with New Mexico State. That we're not Aggie fans here, but the schedule is tough. What's the biggest challenge you see as far as you open up at Michigan, and you've got UCLA? What's the biggest challenge there?
I see them all as opportunities. I don't see them as challenges. I think we had a lot of great opportunities in the schedule to get to play on the road in some of the historic venues in college football, the Big House, the Rose Bowl, the granddaddy of them all. I know a lot of our players are excited to come here and play in Vegas at Allegiant, an NFL stadium where the Raiders play. The blue turf is an iconic stadium in college football. So I think those are a lot of great opportunities. Yeah, they're challenges, but I think they're great opportunities for our players to show what they can do and hopefully build a name for themselves. And then we got to do a great job defending our home turf. I think the way it's worked out, looking at this preseason rankings, Boise, UNLV, and San Jose State, the teams picked 1, 2, 3 were all on the road. So those are tough games, playing good teams on the road, but that also tells me, you look at our 6 home games, I think we have 6 home games. We're not going to be a big underdog in any of those 6 home games. So we got to do a great job of defending the University Stadium. And I think that's going to be our pathway to get into a bowl game, is playing really, really good at home and winning a high majority of those games.
Speaking of University Stadium, the news was just announced with the renovation, some of the renovations that are kind of starting to unfold, but the transformation of the scoreboard and the video board. What can you tell us about that, and maybe some future projects that are coming up?
So excited for what Fernando Lobo has been able to do for our athletic department, specifically football. He really has been working tirelessly to try to get our funding back where it needs to be competitive for a top group of 5 program. And he was able to get some money from the governor for some renovations that's going to lead to that new scoreboard, which I think is going to help our fan experience. We're going to redo our turf, and we're going to get the Shield logo, Lobos logo on midfield with the outline of New Mexico. I think it's going to be a very nice addition to the stadium. And then, my job is that we play some good football this year and hopefully get that stadium crowded a lot. And hopefully that can lead to some more things in the future, just for improving the fan experience with concessions and things like that. I mean, that's not stuff that directly affects our players, but we want it to be when people come there, and hopefully we're getting 30,000 people a lot in there over time. The fans are having a great experience. They're not saying, well, I'd just rather go watch the game at home, because they can't make a difference in the game when they're watching at home, but when they're in the stands making noise on third down when the other team has the ball, they can impact the game.
Yeah, well, the mini plans were just announced too for some of the tickets, make it more affordable for families to attend individual games. I've got a family of 4 who you were.
Yep.
We had the pleasure of meeting you at the brewery. But Coach, I listened to a podcast a while back, and it was more focused on leadership skills, kind of built around like how you focus on rebuilding a roster and kind of reinstilling your DNA into building a culture. Can you talk about how the transformation has been at UNM from your short time there, but what you're starting to recognize now is maybe some small wins from the leadership take over from yourself and your staff?
Yeah, we really emphasize championship behavior with what we're doing. And what we mean by that is, across different areas of your life, you got to be at a high level, a championship level. You don't win the conference and all of a sudden figure out how to act as a champion. You got to act as a champion before you get to that part. And it carries over. So I think one great sign for our team was, we really emphasize that, doing your best academically, it really has a direct carryover to how you're doing in football. Because if you are, skipping assignments in school or missing class, you're not all of a sudden just going to come to the football facility and do all the little details right. And I think the team has bought into that. We had the highest GPA in school history this spring, 3.36 GPA. So I thought that was a really good sign that the players are, buying in with what we're asking them to do. And you're looking for that. You're looking for some kind of small wins or signs that the players are doing that, because I think we're going to have a heck of a plan as coaches of what we have to do to get this program turned around. But now you got to go execute it. That's the hard part. So I'm encouraged, and I think we've had to do a really good job of trying to rebuild with this community. I really feel for this fan base and for our players who've been there. I mean, to go through 3 head coaches in 3 years is a lot.
A lot, yeah. We need some consistency.
Yeah, so we got to rebuild that. We got to rebuild the trust and earn that trust, and get not just our players believing, but get the city of Albuquerque, the state of New Mexico, the whole University of New Mexico believing in what we can do as a program and how our success is going to be a great positive for the whole community.
Well, I think we definitely feel the positive impact. I think Albuquerque does too. Get your mini plans, get to the stadium. Coach, thank you for your time and for hopping on the pit press this morning.
Thanks, Nick. Thanks,
Coach,
Dad. Appreciate
thank
you guys
you.
so
You bet.
much for all your
Yeah.
coverage, man.
Yep.